Hi all, today we are going to discuss about extension of range of moving iron instruments and different errors that comes in the moving iron instruments and how to overcome those errors. So first I am starting with the extension of the range of moving iron instrument. So this moving iron instrument can be used as either ammeter or the voltmeter. So if you want to use as the case of ammeter, so the ammeter will be connected in series with the circuit. So it will carry the full current of your load, because if you are taking the ammeter, let us assume this is my meter. So the current that is passing through the meter will be equal to the current that is passing through your load. So large value of the current is passing through this one. So in order to produce the same flux, so very less number of turns are sufficient because the MMF required will be very less. And the second one, the requirement, because it is connected in series with the circuit, so its impedance should be as minimum as possible. So that's why the ammeter is made up of a thick wire and less number of turns. So in the case of ammeter, since the moving parts do not carry any current, as the current is only passing through the stationary part or the solenoidal coil only, so moving iron ammeters can be operated without shunts up to 50 amperes. Up to 50 amperes we can directly use. Whereas in the case of PMMC type of instrument, because the moving element is on the rotating part, so we have to carry the current there. So that is a difficult task, because in order to decrease the weight there, as well as the limitation of current carrying capacity of the springs, we have discussed there that current there is a limit. Shunt is compulsory, but here shunt is not required. And if more than this current is required, then we generally go for the current transformers, that is instrument transformers are used in conjunction with the moving iron instruments, and shunts are not preferred in practice. The reason why the shunts are not used for AC measurement of moving iron instrument is explained here. So let us take for example the current I is coming. So this is the current that can be carried by the meter, that IM will pass through this. So remaining current will be bypassed through a shunt resistor. So in the case of AC, because every element will have both resistance as well as reactance, let us assume the resistance and inductance of the meter is represented by RMLM, and resistance and inductance of the shunt is represented by RSH and LSH. So practically generally for any resistor, the value of inductance is very less compared to the resistance. Whereas for the case of meter, the inductance will be dominating the resistance. That is known to us. So let us proceed further. So this voltage drop across this element will be equal to current multiplied by this impedance, that gives the magnitude of the voltage. It is same as this current multiplied by this resistance, because both are parallel circuit, voltage drop will be same. So we can get from here Im into square root of Rm square plus omega Lm square. This will be equal to ISH multiplied by RSH square plus omega into LSH whole square. Getting it? So from this I can take the ratio ISH by Im will be equal to square root of Rm square plus omega Lm square divided by square root of RSH square plus omega LSH square. Or from the numerator I am taking Rm outside, and from the denominator I am taking RSH outside. So when Rm square is taken out, when it is coming out of the square root, it become Rm. So this will become 1 plus omega Lm. This Rm is not there here, so to take out we have to divide with the value. So this is omega Lm by Rm whole square. Similarly in the denominator we will get like this. So you can see that both numerator and denominator is having a frequency term omega. So if you want to make it independent of the frequency, so this will be independent of the frequency when this term is equal to this term. Agree with me? This term is equal to this term means, because one is same in both cases, we can tell that this term should be equal to this term. So to make the current division independent of frequency, so we can conclude that omega Lm by Rm will be equal to omega LSH by RSH. So in that case, simply ISH by Im will be equal to Rm by RSH only. So it will be independent of the frequency. Or we can tell this omega L by R is nothing but the time constant, because this is for the meter. So we can tell the time constant of the meter should be equal to time constant of the shunt. So only in that case it will be independent of the frequency. But this cannot be achieved in practice, because for the case of shunt the resistance is dominating compared to the reactance. For the instrument it is opposite. So time constant of both are very difficult, and equalizing them is not possible in practice. So that's why shunts are not preferred for the case of moving iron instrument. So now coming to the voltmeter, as the voltmeter is connected across the supply, because the current taken by this instrument should be as minimum as possible. So in order to decrease the amount of the current taken by the supply, there are two changes will be required. Here we go for a thin wire of more number of turns, because as the current is less, more turns are required. So in order to produce the required MMF, as the current is less, because MMF is N into I, so number of turns required will be more. and we use the thin wire because so that the resistance of the meter will increase, so that the current will decrease, current drawn. So in order to extend what I am doing, I am connecting a multiplier or a series resistor in series with the instrument. This is called as the multiplier, also called as the swamping resistor. Because it is called as the swamping resistor because this will compensate for the effect of change in the temperature. That means this RS will not vary with respect to the change in the temperature. So practically the value of RS will be greater than 10 times the meter resistance in practice. So let us proceed for the equations. So I can write the voltage drop across the meter will be equal to current passing through the meter multiplied by the impedance of the meter, that is Rm square plus omega Lm square. Similarly, total supply voltage will be Im multiplied by, because total impedance is added here, that is Rm plus Rs whole square plus omega Lm square. So this swamping resistance will have negligible value of the inductance. That's why I have not taken the inductance of the swamping resistor. So now going to the voltage multiplication factor is the ratio of supply voltage divided by voltage of the meter. We have already seen for PMMC instruments. So if you are taking the ratio of V divided by Vm, you will get these equations. You can see that both numerator and denominator are again depending on the frequency. So as they are dependent on the frequency, so automatically it gives the errors. So in order to compensate for this error introduced due to frequency change, so generally one capacitor will be connected across this resistor. So that is called as the compensating capacitor. So what is the value of this compensating capacitor, why it is connected, that I will discuss in the next section, because it serves two purposes, to decrease the other errors also. So that we will discuss there. So I am proceeding for errors in moving iron instruments. So two types of errors will be there. Some errors will be common for both DC as well as AC measurement, and some errors will come only for the case of AC. That means they depend on the frequency. So these errors are independent of the frequency. So that's why these for the case of AC and DC they are valid. So first one is due to hysteresis. So if you take any material, when you are increasing the H or the current that is passing through the coil, so H or simply I can write as I. This flux density I can write as phi. So when the current is increased, during the increasing, you can see here, so it will be like this. So when you are changing from 0 initially, but later on what will be there, when you are decreasing, it will follow this curve. Again, when you are increasing the current, it will follow this curve. Or we can tell that during the increasing value of the current, it follows one curve, and during the decreasing, it follows another curve. That means it will not follow the same curve. Or we can tell that for a given magnitude of the current, during the rising, it will produce this much flux. You can see this much flux, but whereas during, because it will reach up to the peak when the current is again decreased, that means the current is gradually raised and again decreased, let us assume, because in the circuit current goes on changing. When the current is decreased, even though the current reaches the same magnitude, you can see the flux is more. The flux is more. This is due to the BH characteristic. As the flux is more, automatically the deflecting torque produced will be more. That means when compared to the rising time, while the decreasing or the descending time, the torque produced will be more, or it will show the more reading. So same thing I have mentioned, due to the hysteresis in the iron parts of the moving system, readings are higher for decreasing values than the ascending values or the increasing values. So this may lead to the errors up to nearly 3%. So in order to avoid the effect of this hysteresis, so what we have to do, nickel alloy with a narrow hysteresis loop can be used to reduce the error. Why this is happening? This is happening due to the iron vein, because iron vein get magnetized. So iron vein, it will not follow the same characteristic during the rising and the decreasing, so that creates a problem. So practically we go for nickel alloy with a narrow hysteresis loop is used for decreasing the error to nearly 0.05%. So now the second problem comes with the rise in the temperature. When the temperature is increased, the springs becomes weak, the tension in the spring decreases, so automatically it will read more reading because controlling torque will be less for a given deflection. So automatically the reading will be more. So there is an error of up to 0.02% per degree centigrade rise in the temperature. So in order to compensate for this, what we do, I have told already in the controlling torque. So two helical springs are wound in the opposite direction. So when the temperature is raised, so one spring tension is decreased, another spring tension will be increased. So it will counterbalance it there. So the effect will be negligible there. So in that way it will be counterbalanced. So two springs will be used, and further, so we have to take the other precautions also. And the second effect is, as the temperature is increased, because this temperature can increase because your instrument is having both the meter resistance as well as the series or multiplier resistance. Because of that, there will be I square multiplied by the total resistance. That much loss is there. Because of the I square loss, the temperature increases. So whenever the temperature increases, we know the property of any resistor will be positive temperature coefficient of resistance. So the resistance will increase with increase in the temperature. That means both Rs and Rm are increased. When the resistance is increased, automatically what will happen to the current? Because voltage multiplied by impedance is current, so current through the meter will decrease. So automatically reading will decrease. So this is the case for the case of voltmeter only. Please remember, for the case of ammeter, the current is independent of the conditions of the meter. That's why it will not affect. For the case of voltmeter, the temperature changes will affect. So I am discussing about that only. So reading will decrease in this case. So in order to avoid the problem, so I want my this series resistance and the meter resistance should not be affected by temperature. But meter resistance, because it is a conductor, so it will have positive temperature coefficient of resistance. So but this Rs is in my hands. That means that multiplier resistance is in my hands. So that series resistance should be made of material like manganese, which has very less temperature coefficient of resistance, and in order to compensate for the rise in the resistance Rm, because even though Rs is not increasing, Rm will increase, that will lead to errors. So in order to decrease the value of the error, practically the value of Rs is taken as greater than or equal to 10 times the meter resistance in practice. So I hope up to here it is clear to you. Then the third type of error that can happen is the stray magnetic fields. Stray magnetic fields means the magnetic fields that are coming from the external circuit into your main circuit. Because we know as the moving iron instrument has a weak operating field of the order of 0.0062 to 0.0075 Webers per meter square. So external stray magnetic fields can disturb the operating field depending on which direction that magnetic field is there. So this can be minimized by using iron case or thin iron shield over the working parts, so that that external magnetic field will not come and interfere with the operating field. So what we will do, we will provide the iron case or thin iron shield is provided over the working parts or over the instrument. Getting it? So now coming to the errors which will be there only for AC only. So these errors will be due to the frequency errors, that is the reactance of the coil and eddy currents. These are the two cases. Because of that the errors comes. So first one is the reactance of the coil. Because the reactance of the instrument, that will depend on the frequency, that will have the effect. So for example, I am taking the voltmeter. This is my voltmeter. So current that is passing or current through the meter, I can represent Im is equal to V divided by Rs plus Rm. Sorry. Rs is the series resistance and Rm is the meter resistance plus omega square into Lm square. Agree with me? For the case of, if you are taking the ammeter, for the case of ammeter, that Im is depending on the load current only. It is independent of the circuit conditions or the meter conditions. That's why the reactance of the instrument is not going to play any major role for the case of current or the ammeter without any shunt. Only if the shunt is used, then there will be the effect. That I have already discussed. So our major concern is for the voltmeter only, because it will be introduced. So I am proceeding further. So from this I can write the value of Im is equal to V divided by square root of Rs plus Rm whole square plus omega square L square. Agree with me? So this I can write in the form, this Rs plus Rm I am taking outside. So this will be V by Rs plus Rm into 1 divided by square root of 1 plus omega square L square divided by Rs plus Rm square. So this I am taking as equation number 1. So if you are taking that omega L is far less than Rs plus Rm, because we know the value of Rs is very high when compared to the either Rm or omega L. And this is valid for the low frequencies, because omega term is also there 2 pi f. Getting it? So this equation number 1 can be written as I is equal to V divided by Rs plus Rm into, this can be simplified as 1 minus omega square L square by 2 times of Rs plus Rm whole square. So this way I can write, or this I can write in the form 1 by 2. This is omega square multiplied by L by Rs plus Rm, because L by R will be nothing but the time constant, because this is the time constant of your entire instrument circuit. So entire instrument circuit time constant is omega L by Rs plus Rm. So this will be equal to V by Rs plus Rm into 1 minus 1 by 2 times of omega square tau square. You can see here, ideal value should be V by Rs plus Rm, but practically it is V by Rs plus Rm minus this much. So this part is introducing the error here. Or we can tell that the error introduced will be half times of omega square tau square times of the ideal value. This much error is introduced. So to reduce the error, the time constant should be decreased. So this time constant decreased means the value of L by Rs plus Rm should decrease. So in order to decrease the time constant, we go for narrow coil with a reduced number of turns are used in practice. So we will go for the narrow coil means that the thickness or the size, the diameter of the solenoid should be minimum. The diameter of the solenoid is less, and at the same time less number of turns are used in order to avoid this problem. So the second one, we will go for the compensating circuit. We connect one compensating capacitor across this resistance Rs. So let us see what will be the effect. So the total impedance can be written as, so Rm plus J times of omega Lm. This is the impedance of this one, plus impedance of this parallel circuit will be Rs by 1 plus j omega c into Rs, because this will be of the form Rs multiplied by 1 by j omega c, j by omega c divide 1 by j omega c divided by Rs plus 1 by j omega c. If you simplify it, you will get this answer. So I hope this you already know, you have already referred to basic electrical engineering. So I have not written those steps here. So proceeding further, Z is equal to Rm plus j omega Lm plus, so this what I can do, this denominator is 1 plus j omega c Rs. I am just multiplying and dividing with 1 minus j omega c Rs. So that it is of the form a plus b into a minus b is a square minus b square. So 1 minus j square. So j square is nothing but equal to minus 1. Minus of minus become plus. That's why you can see denominator becomes 1 plus omega c square Rs square. So this will be, numerator will be Rs minus j omega c Rs square. So that I have separated the terms here. So to make the impedance independent of the frequency, to make it independent of the frequency means no frequency term should be there or the imaginary term should not be there. Only the real term will be there. That means this impedance will be equal to Rm plus Rs. That means this entire equation should be equal to Rm plus Rs. So now what I am doing, I am equating the real and the imaginary terms to get the condition. So real terms when you are equating, this will be Rm plus Rs is equal to Rm plus Rs by 1 plus omega c square r square. Similarly, imaginary term, this time imaginary term is not there. So this term will be equal to 0. So that will be equated to 0. So before going, let us try to simplify this one. So this Rm is there on the both the sides, it will cancel. This will be equal to Rs is equal to Rs plus 1 by omega c square r square. Rs will cancel. So we can tell that 1 plus omega square r square should be equal to 1. That means this omega square c square Rs square should be negligibly small. Then only 1 plus this value will be equal to 1. So that's why I have written here, this is possible only if omega c square r square is far less than 1. It is negligible, ideally 0, but very negligibly small amount in practice. So now equating the imaginary terms, Lm minus c Rs square by 1 plus omega c square Rs square is equal to 0, or from this I can write Lm is equal to c into Rs square by 1 plus omega c square Rs. So c square into Rs square, right? Okay. So we have already seen that this term will be equal to 1 there, because we have seen in the above equation, because both the conditions should be satisfied. So substituting this value as the 1, I can write Lm is equal to c into Rs square, or from this I can write c is equal to Lm divided by Rs square. So this is the value of ideal value. So in practice, generally the value of the c is taken as 0.41 times of Lm divided by Rs square. This is taken in practice. So if you want the derivation for how this 0.41 came, you can refer to A.K. Shahane or any other book. Most of the books has done the derivation for 0.41 Lm Rs square. So I want to do the most, the ideal or nearby ideal one. So that's why I got this derivation. Getting it? So you have to remember here, this is possible only when the case of omega square Rs square is far less than 1. This omega means 2 pi f. That means the frequency should be very less. So that means we can tell that this compensating circuit will be valid only for low value of the frequencies, that is up to about 125 Hz only. So, but practically even if you keep the capacitance, it will go on varying. So let us see how the error will vary with respect to change in the frequency. If that capacitance is not there, the error will follow this curve. This is for the case of uncompensated instrument. And by adding the capacitor, so you can see the error initially will goes on increasing for up to certain value. Then it will go on decaying. It will reach 0, then will go on increasing in the opposite direction. Or we can tell that for a given limit of the errors, that plus or minus error range, by using the compensation, we can use the instrument for more range of frequencies. You can see it can be used up to frequency omega 2, whereas uncompensated case it can be used only up to frequency omega 1. So that's why compensation is done in practice. So now coming to the second type of error, that is eddy current error. These are caused due to eddy currents induced in iron parts of the instruments. So in order to understand this concept, because iron parts will be there in the instrument, that will induce the eddy currents in them, that create the problem. Like in the moving iron instrument, we know the iron vanes are placed inside the instrument, that will create the problem. How they will create the problem, we are going to see. So let the mutual inductance between the iron part and the instruments be represented by capital M. So because of the current that is passing through the instrument is changing, so automatically it will induce the EMF due to mutual inductance. So that induced EMF I am representing by EE will be equal to omega into M into I. Only for the AC this EMF will be induced. That's why omega term is there, 2 pi f. So this omega Mi, this induced EMF will be lagging behind the current by 90 degrees. So current is that this is the current that is passing through the coil, that fixed coil or the current that is passing through your instrument. Getting it? So this EMF is lagging behind this current by 90 degrees and magnitude will be equal to omega Mi. So now due to this EMF induced in the iron part, so automatically some current will pass. So that current will depend on what is the impedance for that iron material for the passage of the eddy current, because it will lead to circulating eddy currents there. So that eddy current will be equal to voltage divided by impedance. Voltage is omega Mi divided by, let us assume the impedance of what is Re square plus omega square Le square, where the value of Re and Le are resistance and inductance of eddy current path. So now this value of the current IE, this will lag behind EE by an angle of theta E. That depends on the tan inverse, what is the value of inductance and resistance ratio, or it depends on the impedance triangle of this eddy current path, that is tan inverse of omega Le by Re. So impedance triangle will be like this. This is the resistance of the coil, that metal, and this is the inductance of the metal for the passage of eddy current. So this angle is given by theta E. This will be the hypotenuse. Hypotenuse will be square root of Re square plus omega square Le square. Getting it? So it will be like this. So now proceeding further. So this current IE, so I can take IE multiplied by Re plus J times of IE multiplied by omega Le. That gives your actual value of the voltage E. So this current IE can be resolved into two components. One will be the in phase component with the current, that means this is IE dash, and second component will be this one. So this component is in quadrature with the current. It is not going to demagnetize, it is only cross magnetizes. And the second component is IE dash. You can see here that IE dash is exactly opposite to I. So what will happen because of this current? So this will produce the flux in the opposite direction to the main flux. You can see this current will produce the flux, let us assume in this direction. This current will produce the flux in the opposite direction. This will produce the flux in the opposite direction. That means both the fluxes are opposing each other. What will be the effect of this? The net flux will decrease in the instrument. When the net flux is decreased, so automatically that deflecting torque will decrease. That is the disadvantage. So let us proceed further, then we will come back to that again. So I can write this IE dash is equal to omega M into I divided by what is the value of this IE dash? So you can see here IE dash is equal to this IE cos of 90 minus theta E, because this is theta E. This total angle is 90 degrees. So this will be 90 minus theta E. So IE cos 90 minus theta E, or this I can write as IE sin theta E, whatever way you write. So the same thing I have mentioned here, omega Mi into square root of Re square plus omega square Le square. This is the value of IE multiplied by sin theta E. What is the sin theta from this impedance triangle? I can write it as sin theta is opposite, that is omega Le, divided by hypotenuse is square root of Re square plus omega square Le square. So when you do the product of this, it will become omega square M into Le into I divided by Re square plus omega square Le square. Getting it? So now this IE dash opposes the I by producing the flux opposite to the operating flux. So the net flux is decreased, automatically the deflecting torque is decreased. So this is having the effect. So let us see the effect of this, the eddy currents on your main instrument. So for the case of low frequencies, we know that practically the value of the resistance will be far greater than the value of the inductive reactance. So the Re is far greater than omega Le. So if Re is far greater than, so this can be neglected here. So this will be omega square M into Le into I divided by Re square. You can see here this IE dash is proportional to omega square. Omega is nothing but 2 pi f. That means IE dash is proportional to frequency square. That means the error will depend on square of the frequency. Because error is introduced due to IE dash, because of this net flux is decreased. So that depends on square of the frequency. So as the frequency is increasing from the DC, so there will be drastic increase in the effect of this losses, that means eddy current losses that happens. So now coming for the second one, for the case of high frequencies, so Re will be far less than omega Le. So in that case, so if you are representing by Re, we are neglecting here. So this equation becomes M into I by Le. It will be nearly constant. Because generally we use for the low frequency. So for the low frequencies, we can see as the frequency is increasing, the effect of eddy currents are increasing drastically. So this is another reason why always moving iron instruments are limited to the usage up to only 125 Hz. Because as the frequency is increasing, effect of the inductance is also there, effect of eddy current is also dominating, and multiple other things also we have seen. So because of these reasons, moving iron instruments are only used up to 125 Hz frequency. I hope the complete moving iron instrument concept is clear to you. So next class I will try to solve some numericals which are given in the previous IES exams, so that you will get the complete concept in the clear. So after that we will go for other instruments. So I hope everything is clear. If you still have any queries, you can leave your comments in the comment section below. I will answer to your queries from there. Thank you very much.